إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. ثم أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. أيها الناس, all people, my dear brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. It is only those who have knowledge amongst His slaves fear Allah. Those who have knowledge of Allah, they know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with His names. They know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with His attributes. They know the halal. They know the haram. They know the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, my dear brothers and sisters, they are the scholars, the ulama, the scholars of Islam. Those Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about them, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. O Muhammad, say, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي. Are they equal? Those who are يَعْلَمُونَ, الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ, those who know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are they equal to those they don't know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? They don't know the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't know the halal and the haram. They don't know Allah's names and attributes. They are not equal. My dear brothers and sisters, today I'm going to introduce to you, today I'm going to tell you about one of those scholars, one of those ulama that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised them in the Quran generally. I'm going to introduce him by a statement of his students, students of his who I was attached to him for 18 years, very close to him. He said, as it was narrated by Imam al-Dhahabi in his book, The History, he said, I'm not going to mention the name. He said, I was with al-Rashid, Harun al-Rashid, the Khalifa of the Muslims, when one of his greatest students of this scholar, of this pious and righteous scholar, entered upon the Rashid. So al-Rashid, Harun al-Rashid, said to him, describe to me your Sheikh. Describe to me son and son scholar. And he mentioned the name. He said, كان والله شديد الذب عن حرمات الله. By Allah, he was very strong in protecting Allah's rules. Allah is halal and haram, the deen of Allah. He was mujaniban li ahli dunya. He was away from the people of dunya. The people who are really attached to dunya, he was away from them. لم يكن مهذارا ولا ثرثارا. He never was a person who talks a speech which has no meaning, no benefit. He was not someone who was all the time talkative. He was controlling his tongue. إن سئل عن مسألة يعرفها أجاب. If he was asked about a mas'ala, about an issue, and he know the answer, he will answer the question. He will answer that mas'ala. وَمَا عَلِمْتُهُ يَا أَمِيرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِلَّا صَائِنًا لِنَفْسِهِ وَدِينِهِ. I've never, the Amir al-Mu'mineen, all the time I knew this person that he is protecting his nafs, himself, and his deen. He was all the time looking after himself to fall in haram and to do something wrong. مُشْتَغِلًا بِنَفْسِهِ عَنِ النَّاسِ. He was busy looking after himself about his own mistakes rather than he's looking to the mistakes of the others. وَلَا يَذْكُرُ أَحَدًا إِلَّا بِخَيْرٍ. He never mentioned someone except with good, with khayr. Harun al-Rashid, once that person completed his description, he said, by Allah, هذه أخلاق الصالحين. These are, by Allah, these are the akhlaq, the manners, the qualities of the pious and righteous people. Yes, my dear brothers and sisters, these are the akhlaq, the manners of as-salihin, the pious and righteous people, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned them to us in the Quran. The Quran, it's not only the stories of the Anbiya. In the Quran, it's not only the stories and the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're not going to find in the Quran only the haram and the halal. Also in the Quran, you'll find the stories of those who are righteous and pious people in there. Allah mentioned them as people like Ashabul Kahf. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned them as individual people. He mentioned a great numbers, Luqman, Maryam, and others. The Mu'min and Fir'aun, Allah mentioned them there for us, my dear brothers and sisters, in order for us to imitate their steps, to be like them, to be righteous and pious like them. We got affected with their reminders. Allah mentioned them for us when we talk about the pious or righteous people like now. The mercy of Allah will be descended upon us. We will get Allah's mercy. Our hearts will be better by mentioning them, and we will fix ourselves. My dear brothers and sisters, by mentioning the pious and righteous people, not the Anbiya, not the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will know the level of yourself. You know where you stand. You know how much your ibadah you do. You know how you talk to people. You get to know yourself more because you are looking to yourself by another person who's same as you. He's a human like you. He's not a Nabi or a Rasul where he was ma'soom, protected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By mentioning the pious and righteous people, you will increase your love to them. And loving them, it's a ibadah, my dear brothers and sisters. Today I'm going to talk about one of those righteous people. I'm going to start with his dunya. The dunya التي فيها معاشنا, the dunya that in it we have our ma'ash, our income. Let's see how he used to get his income. By the way, this person, you know him very well. His father, the father of this righteous and pious person, was one of the richest people. He came all the way from Afghanistan, all the way from Kabul. He immigrated to the land of the Arabs. He was a very rich person in terms of business, a successful trader. His son, the pious and righteous person, the scholar, he inherited all that wealth from his father. He continued that business, selling materials, selling clothes to people. He was in his trade. He was very honest. He was a trusted person. And that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed his business, with his honesty, with his trust in selling and buying with people. One day, a lady entered upon him in his shop in Al-Kufa. She said to him, I want to sell this dress. How much you want to sell it for? She said, 100 dirham. He said, Ya Amatullah, oh lady, this is the value of this dress is more than that. She said, I want to sell it for 200 dirham. He said, Ya Amatullah, oh slave of Allah, this dress is more than that. The value of it is more than that. Where are you going to find a person like this? If you give me something for 100 dirham, very cheap, Ya Zakallah khair, thank you. This is the money. She said, I want to sell it for 300 dirham. He said, Ya Amatullah, the value of this dress is more than that. This is the barakah. This is the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. Because he learned, he knew what means that to be a alim, to know the knowledge, to know the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to know the halal and haram. The fear is in there. She said, I want to sell it for 400 dirham. He said, Ya Amatallah, the value of this dress is more than that, but I will buy it for 400 because I want to get some profit when I sell it to the other people. My dear brothers and sisters, this is the dunya of this scholar, of this pious and righteous person. What about his deen? What about his practice when he remembers Allah, his actions, his ibadat? Let's go and talk about his ibadat. The historians mention when they talked about his life, they said he used to complete the Quran every 3 days. Every 3 days he will complete the Quran. Because he knew, he learned already the saying of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, اقرأوا القرآن. O Muslim, read the Quran. فَإِنَّهُ يَأْتِي يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ شَفِيعًا لِأَهْلِهِ. The Quran will come يوم القيامة as making intercession for you in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He already learned that, and that's why he used to complete the Quran every 3 days. My dear brothers and sisters, read the Quran. And this is why we are talking about the pious and righteous people. We're going to compare ourselves with those people. He used to say, they said that he used to give a sadaqah every day. He used to give a charity every day because he learned and he knew the saying of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as-sadaqatu burhan. Sadaqah, it's an evidence and it's a proof to show that you are a believer, that you are really want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy, Allah's pleasure. He already learned that the saying of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, tasaddaqu, give a sadaqah, walau bishiqqi thamra. Even if you give half of a date, that will be sufficient as a sadaqah. My dear brothers and sisters, give a sadaqah. Try to give a sadaqah every day, if not every day, at least weekly, every Jummah. One of his students described also more about his ibadah. He said, to show you that how much that his was attached to him, to accept the statement that he's going to say. He was, كنت بطانته في السفر والحضر. I was very attached to him. Al-bitana means very, very close to him in his traveling and his residence when he was in the city. And he said, وَأَشْهَدُ فِي اللَّيَالِ. And even I used to look in his manzil, in his place where he used to live. I used to be there even during the night time. وَقَلَّ مَا يَسْتَتِرُ عَنِّي مِنْ حَالِهِ. And very, very rare that I used to miss some of his situations in his life. So what he said فَمَا رَأَيْتُ. I've never ever seen someone who is in his ijtihad, in his ibadah like him. What he used to do, he said, he used to be صَائِمَ النَّهَارِ. He used to fast during the daytime. I wanted to say here that because this scholar, he already learned the saying of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Man sama yawman fi sabilillah, whoever fasts a day for the sake of Allah, ba'ad Allahu baynahu wa bayna wajhi sab'ina kharifan. Allah will distance the hellfire from your face 70 years. Will make a distance between you and the hellfire for 70 years. We are in the short days now, and it's a chance for us to fast these days, at least Monday and Thursday, at least 3 days in the month. And we are in the short days, the days of the fasting, my dear brothers and sisters. In fact, they said that this Imam, he fasted 30 years. 30 years of his life that he was fasting. Also, this student, he said, كَانَ قَائِمَ اللَّيْلِ. He used to make qiyamul layl all the time. He was very attached to him. He used to see his actions. Because this scholar, he already learned and read the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, كَانُوا قَلِيلًا مِنَ اللَّيْلِ مَا يَهْجَعُونَ. When Allah described the pious and righteous people, if you want to be one amongst those people, Allah said, كَانُوا قَلِيلًا. They used to be very little. مِنَ اللَّيْلِ مَا يَهْجَعُونَ. Very, very small time during the night time when they sleep. وَبِالْأَسْحَارِ هُمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. Also, my dear brothers and sisters, they said about him, he made qiyamul layl. He continued praying Salatul Fajr with the wudu of Salatul Isha for 40 years. That's what was narrated about him. He said, when he used to enter Mecca, we only see him in a salah or in a tawaf. We never seen him doing anything else except that he's going around the Kaaba making tawaf or he's making a nafil in the Mecca. They counted his hajjat for 55 times that he made hajj. Allah gave him money. Allah gave him wealth. And he's using that fi sabilillah. He's using that to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's now see his taqwa. Just a very short statement about his taqwa. It was said by Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak. He said to Sufyan al-Thawri, who was one of his equal person during his time, he said, ما أبعده عن الغيبة ما سمعته يغتاب أحدا. I've never ever heard him making and saying a ghiba, backbiting. Sufyan said, Wallahi huwa a'qalu. By Allah, he's more sensible to destroy his hasanat by making a ghiba. He's very sensible. Be sensible, my dear brothers and sisters. Be sensible. Don't destroy what you make during the day at night time. Don't destroy what you make during the night time, during the daytime. But by saying something that will displease Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By committing any kind of sins. My dear brothers and sisters, Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah ta'ala, said long time ago, he said, and in his statement, he was very humble. He said, أُحِبُّ الصَّالِحِينَ وَلَسْتُ مِنْهُمْ. I love those who are pious, but I am not one of them. لَعَلِّي أَنْ أَنَالَ بِهِمْ شَفَاعَةً. Perhaps I might get their intercession one day. Allahumma uktub lana. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to write us, to write in our book that we love him subhanahu wa ta'ala, we love his messenger, and we love those who pious and righteous people. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gather us with them. أقول ما تسمعون وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله على إحسانه والشكر له على توفيقه وامتنانه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له تعظيما لشانه وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الداعي إلى رضوانه صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. My dear brothers and sisters, عباد الله, Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم said, والذي نفسي بيده, by the one who is my soul in his hand, لو أن العلم, if the ilm, the knowledge, and in one narration, لو أن الإيمان, if the iman, the faith, and another narration, لو أن الدين, if the deen, the religion, كان معلقا في الثريا, was in a thuraya. Thuraya in basic Arabic language, it means the chandelier. But in this statement and in Arabic language, it means in the stars, the planet far away there. If the ilm, if the knowledge, if the deen was in that thuraya, in the stars, لَتَنَاوَلَهُ رِجَالٌ مِّنْ أَبْنَاءِ فَارِسِ. It will be gained, it will be taken, will be achieved, and will be gained by people, the sons of Faris, the Persian people. And the narrators or the commentators, they said this hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to say, although the hadith was said about Salman al-Farisi, because he was sitting by next to Rasulullah and he tapped on his lap and he said, Min abna'i Faris. However, the meaning of hadith includes any A'jami, any person who's not an Arab, and from Bilad Faris, from Faris or beyond that countries, and if the ilm and the knowledge and the deen was there, that's to show you how they were eager to get the deen. Those who are not Arab, they want to get that deen, that knowledge. And it had been in the history of the Muslims. Look to Imam al-Bukhari and look into the scholars of Islam. Great number of them, they were not Arab. and they worked hard to get the knowledge, to get the deen, the iman. My dear brothers and sisters, our scholar that I introduced him earlier, and I did not mention his name, the pious and righteous person, he was one of the sons of Faris. He was not an Arab person. He was not an Arabi. He was born in year 80 after Hijrah. And as I said earlier, he immigrated his father from Kabul, from Afghanistan, until he get into Al-Kufa. He was born during the Khilafah of Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. And at the time, there were young Sahaba were present. At the time, during the Khilafah of Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. Our scholar, my dear brothers and sisters, the Imam, or as they say, the great Imam, Al-Imam Abu Hanifa, Al-Nu'man ibn Thabit, rahimahullah ta'ala. He was counted amongst the ulama that they met a Sahaba, and because of that, they counted him as one of the Tabi'een, one of the followers, the Tabi'een, because they said that he met 7 amongst the Sahaba, although that narration is not authentic and minimum. And what is the authentic? That he met Anas ibn Malik radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Abu Hanifa rahimahullah ta'ala, the Imam, he sought the knowledge when he was very little. And he used the wealth of his father, the fund of his father, that he did not need to work. He did not need to go and find how much that I need to get money to go and seek the knowledge. His father supported him. He got the knowledge. He learned from great scholars during his time. He learned the knowledge not just from those who are older than him. He also learned the knowledge from those who are equal to him and those who are younger than him, to show that how humble he was, rahimahullah ta'ala. He was called Abu Hanifa. Do you know why? Do you know why he was Hanifa? He hasn't got a daughter called Hanifa, as some people, they thought of that. Hanifa in the language of the Iraqis, it means the bag, the container that it carries the ink of the writing. Imam Abu Hanifa used to have the ink and that container with him all the time. And that's a sign of seeking the knowledge. Talibul ilm all the time has a pen with him to write, and a piece of paper or something like that. Abu Hanifa was called Hanifa because of that. He never sat to teach people before the age of 40. When he got 40 and he got the ijazah from his scholars, that time he sat down and started teaching the people. After his imam, his scholar, died and he got his place and he started teaching people. Imam Shafi'i said about him, الناس عيال في الفقه على أبي حنيفة. People, scholars, are really in need to the fiqh, the knowledge of Imam Abu Hanifa. Abdullah ibn Mubarak said, كان أبو حنيفة أفقه الناس. He was the most knowledgeable person amongst the ulama at that time. My dear brothers and sisters, every start has an end. When you start, then there will be an end one day. Make you start in this life good, same as Imam Abu Hanifa. And never be late. Don't say it's too late. You can restart again your life and make it better. If you can't, at least make your end good and try to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Abu Hanifa, he was given an offer by the Khalifa Abu Ja'far al-Mansur to be the mufti, to be the qadi, the judge of the whole state of the Muslims, the qadi of the Khalifa himself. And that is the highest estate, the highest position after the Khalifa himself. Nowadays, if we are running and we're working so hard to get promoted into something, that we work in a company, in somewhere, we work so hard to get higher and higher and higher. Imam Abu Hanifa, he tried with all his effort to avoid that. He denied it and he rejected that. Because of that, he was tested very, very hardly by Abu Ja'far al-Mansur. Abu Ja'far al-Mansur, he gave him 2 options, either to be my qadi, my mufti, my judge, or to go to prison. Imam Abu Hanifa, he remembered the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the tongue of Yusuf alayhi salam, رَبِّ السِّجْنُ وَحَبُّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا يَدْعُونَنِي إِلَيْهِ. He chose to be in a prison rather than to go into that place, because he wanted to be a simple scholar teaching people the knowledge, the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was not looking for states and positions and to be higher and higher. My dear brothers and sisters, in prison that he was treated very badly. He was used to get and have 10 lashes every day at the age of really close to 70. When he got sick, about to die, they got him out of the prison so they don't get the responsibility of his death. After that, died, rahimahullah ta'ala, on the 11th of Jummah al-Ula. Today we are on the 6th of Jummah al-Ula. On the 11th of Jummah al-Ula in year 150. My dear brothers and sisters, when he died, Imam Abu Hanifa, Al-Husayn ibn Umara, he completed his ghusl, his kafan, and when he completed everything, he stood at his head and he said, may Allah have mercy on you. May Allah forgive all your sins. You were fasting for 30 years. You did not sleep on your side for 40 years. Wallahi qad at'abta an-nasa min ba'dik. You made the people after you to be tired, because who will be able to reach your level? And we are learning about the pious and righteous people, so we can't imitate them and be like them. He said, وَفَضَحْتَ الْقُرَّى, and you made those the reciters of the Quran, you exposed them, because they are qurra, but they did not reach your level. My dear brothers and sisters, his janazah was attended by 50,000 Muslims at that time. They prayed janazah 6 times in Al-Kufa because there's no space for everyone. Like Abu Hanifa is a person that we should follow in his actions. We should imitate his manners, qualities. A person that we don't just not look into his fiqh and be a Hanafi. Look into his akhlaq, look into his ibadah, and that's how we should be like. Imitate the quality of as-salihin. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى صحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت. اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واصلحنا واصلح بنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم فرج هم المهمومين واقض الدين عن المدينين واشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين. اللهم اشف مرضانا ومرضى جميع المسلمين. اللهم اشفهم، اللهم عافهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم كن لإخواننا في فلسطين وفي كل بلاد المسلمين. اللهم كن لهم، اللهم كن معهم يا رب العالمين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. أقم الصلاة.